Let's walk through making a submission on WebCat. Here I've already logged in, and I could use the Submit tab to make a new submission. But instead, you'll notice that WebCat also provides a listing of the assignments that you're working on right on your home page with action icons over on the right. And so I'm going to click the upload icon for the assignment that I want to work on in order to go directly to the submission entry page. Here I can see a history of the past submissions that I've made and how my score has progressed. And I'm going to go ahead and browse and grab the zip archive that contains my source code. WebCat accepts archives in zip, jar, tar, or TGZ formats. And when it receives the archive, it unpacks it so that you can see the contents inside and confirm that it really is what you want to submit. I'm going to confirm my submission. Here I can wait for just a few moments while WebCat is processing the submission. I can see that the most recent wait was only 9 seconds. Now my results are ready. At the very top of my feedback results, I can see a summary showing the assignment name and what attempt this is for me, who I am, when I submitted, and a summary of my score. And in this case, the instructor has broken down the score into 3 components. 40 points that are hand graded by a teaching assistant or a grader or an instructor, 20 points that are graded by static analysis tools, and 40 points that are devoted to the correctness and testing of my own code. And I can see my score summary here, as well as a small histogram showing where my score falls within the current class performance today. A little lower, I can see the results from running my tests. I had 7 tests in my submission, and all of my tests passed, but they only covered 75% of the code that I wrote. Here I can also see that the instructor has chosen to measure the number of methods that I have tested. The instructor could have instead chosen the number of statements or some other coverage measure. If I want to see which portions of the code are untested, I can go inside the files that I have here to inspect them and see where I've lost points and what comments have been made. The progress bars on the right show that I've achieved about 50% coverage in one of my classes, but 100% in the other. So I'm going to click on this calculator class, and when I go inside, I see a nice color-coded, syntax highlighted view of my source code. And for every line, for every method, I can see an execution count indicating how many times it was executed during my tests. And if I scroll down a little bit lower, here I can find a source for part of my problem. I have 3 methods that are all highlighted in pink, and if I hover my mouse over them, it tells me that this method was never entered during any of my tests. That means I need to add more tests for these methods. If I scroll down a little farther, I can see also that in this method divide by that I have lost a point because I forgot to include a Java comment. That comes from the style checking tool, and the instructor has configured it to actually make point deductions for certain kinds of errors. If I return to the submission summary, I could inspect my other source files and see where else I've lost points. A little lower in the scoring summary, I can see an estimate of the problem coverage. In this case, that's really the percentage of instructor reference tests that my code was able to pass, and that gives me some indication of how thorough my testing is compared to what the instructor wants. And I can also see the interpretation of my score. Out of the 40 points possible for correctness in testing, I received 40 points times 100% because my test pass rate was 100%, times 75%, that was the code coverage that I achieved with my own tests, times 83%, which was the amount of problem coverage that I achieved, and that gives me a total of 25 points. I also have the ability to download files that plugins have provided by feedback, and the Java plugin allows me to download my original submission. That's it for making a WebCat submission. Now I could go back and submit again or return to my home page.